Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for Fired Up Network with a special edition of the MMA Ground and Pound Show. I'm happy to be joined by my guest. He's going to be competing on the Bellator Dublin card. He is Brett Johns. Brett, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. Very well. A bit tired. We're getting to the last stages. Really, this has been a long old camp. I always said to myself after my Bellator debut, I take these shorter camps, and so far I haven't listened. So there we are.
And this fight, it was kind of a short notice replacement. You were originally supposed to fight James Gallagher, and he unfortunately had to pull out of the fight. So this change of opponent, how has it affected your training camp?
To be completely honest, obviously we've watched a bit of Jordan Winski, and we know that he's dangerous in certain areas, and he hasn't been taken lightly. My coaches and my training partners have done a fantastic job kind of putting their analysis across to see what the weaknesses and the strengths are. Look, at the end of the day, I've taken fights on shorter notice of this, so I don't, in my mind, like maybe to the average person who fights, it's not really super short notice. I always remember my UFC debut was like 3 weeks notice. In my opinion, like 5-6 weeks is probably ample time. Like, don't get me wrong, yes, the 10 weeks prior to that, knowing James Gallagher, that was kind of a little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. And at the end of the day, my storyline with James is not finished there. We'll continue that. But first, we cannot look past Jordan Winski, and we're looking to put a dominant performance in.
And it's your second straight fight in Dublin. So is that more of a comforting thing to you that you're going back there? And what's it like, I guess, competing in front of the Irish fans?
Yeah, like it's mad you say that, because I thought before February this year, before doing the first Dublin card this year, I think it might have been about maybe 6 years since I fought near to home. So always being behind enemy lines and always being out in the US, fighting in the US. There was one fight in Abu Dhabi. I haven't really been able to take a little big crowd over there and show really what the Welsh support is about because of the distance. And back in February, managed to take a few people over that made enough of a noise for me to yearn the fight. And this time it's probably double that number going to Dublin. Unfortunately, I think we all had in mind it was going to be James Gallagher, but now it's not. But the support is still going, and I truly appreciate it. And I just can't wait to hear, obviously, the Irish crowd and obviously the Welsh lot that are coming over as well.
And during this training camp, like who have been the biggest, I guess, not supporters, but like who have you been training with the most? And after this change in opponent, and has it maybe changed your thought process going into it of the kind of strategy you're going to have here?
Believe it or not, there's not much of a change. I watched both their styles. Yes, their strengths are slightly different, but it's ever so slightly. I'm going to go in there and just see how it plays out. I know that Jordan is like I said, dangerous in certain areas. Training for this camp has been, it's been tough. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It has been hard. It's been a tough camp, and I've never been one to kind of shy away and hide the fact that I've struggled in certain camps. And this is one of them camps that I've struggled, but my best performances come from camps where I've struggled a lot. And this one, I've struggled a lot. So training with the likes of like Jack Shaw, a top world-class bantamweight on all levels, on all promotions. So training with him is always a blessing. Josh Reed, former Cage Warriors, title challenger. Scott Pedersen, an active pro. Levi Batchelor, who's one of the top featherweights in the amateur UK scene. The same lot, really. These are all the guys that I train with on a daily basis. Not even weekly, it's more like daily basis. And without them guys, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. And without the coaches there like Richard Shaw, Carl Parker, Heem, and my boxing coach Dan Wilson, it's been good. It always is good. Even when the training is hard, we always come off the mat laughing and smiling, and it's all thanks to them guys.
And I've noticed, like, just following your career from even when you were in the UFC and now in Bellator, like, you've competed at multiple weight classes. So have you found a home at bantamweight? Like, is this your most comfortable that you've competed in throughout your career?
Yeah, I'd have to say, yeah, bantamweight. And as much as I hate doing the cut and hate losing the weight, bantamweight seems to be where I'm at. I really don't think that a move to featherweight would be beneficial for me, as I don't think I'm a really big 35er. I think I'm on the above average scale, but I don't think I'm a big 35er. And that would mean if I went to featherweight, I'd be an absolutely tiny 45er. So 35 is where I'm going to be at now for the foreseeable future. You know, obviously I can only take it per fight and per camp and per weight cut, but I can't see there being a change here until something drastic happens and where we have to change some things up. But weight's good. Weight's probably better than it's been for a while. And like I said, you know, we just want to go in there and get that weight cut done and dusted and go in there and put a good performance in.
And I like how you brought up there, like just your training camp and some of the fighters you're working with. They're also in the UFC, and we're starting to see more Welsh fighters like yourself come in, get a big name, be successful. What's the scene like there in Wales MMA? Because like we hear Canadian MMA, where I am, like some fighters come up, and Australia has been popping up recently, in France. So how would you best describe what Welsh MMA is like?
Look, the game is ever evolving on a global scene. You know, every country seems to be bringing in an athlete or two athletes where they are really, really, you know, they're coming through the ranks at the end of the day. And going back before 2016, we didn't have one representative ever go to the UFC, and all of a sudden now, you know, at the top of my head, we've had 5 or 6, you know, active UFC fighters from Wales in the UFC since 2016. So the game is getting better. And the amateur team coming through the ranks as well, I'll have to add, they're terrifying. They're all monsters, these youngsters coming through the ranks. And like I said, the future is very bright. It's just the only thing I think that would benefit Welsh MMA right now is to have a big show. We had PFL come to Cardiff a few weeks ago. Obviously, Cage Warriors come here quite often. Realistically, though, I want to see that Bellator card come to Wales, and you know, I'd be lying if I said I'd be very annoyed if I wasn't a massive part of that card. And there's a couple of fights out there I think we'd be able to sell out my home city in Swansea. But like I said, first things first, we've got to worry about next Friday and getting a win there, and then maybe we can start to think about the future and the future of Welsh MMA and maybe even a Bellator Wales, which would be a dream come true for me to kind of have any sort of involvement in that would be amazing.
And do you think, like, logistically, I know, like, if you're headlining a card there, do you think that would help further things along? Because I saw even like the WWE went to Cardiff and had a massive stadium show. Do you think that's like maybe opening people's eyes that Wales could be a great market and maybe a profitable one, even if Bellator went there?
100%. I definitely think on a very selfish, personal level, I think if they did come to Swansea, do I think we'd sell out? You're damn well sure. I'm sure that we'll sell that place out, you know. With the support and with the fan base that I've got just in Swansea alone, I think we could do really, really well. And to stick a name in like Gallagher or like anybody in that top sort of 10, I think that'll draw the crowd in. And yeah, like I said, it would be a dream come true. To have my face on a poster with Bellator would be a dream come true. And then, look, after that, it is what it is. You know, obviously, the plan of attack is to keep winning each fight until we get closer to that gold belt. But, you know, if I can tick off some things off the bucket list, being involved in a main event in Bellator would be one for the bucket list. To be involved in a Bellator in your home country and being sort of the main guy on the show, you know, alongside people like Liu Long, because he's another Welsh representative in Bellator alongside me, to get us two on that card. And like you said, it might open doors for other Welsh fighters who were able to get on the card as well. And at the end of the day, this is what we want to do, is try and improve this sport in Wales. And I think we've done a really good job up to this point, especially in particular with Cage Warriors. I just feel like Bellator need to hit this untapped market here, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I like how even bantamweight in recent years, it's starting to become more and more popular. Before, everyone was always talking about lightweight and both the UFC and Bellator, but now it looks like 135 seems to be the place that a lot of people are seeing is most competitive, most stacked. So with that ongoing Grand Prix going on, and they got Stots, Sabatello, Magomedov there, and Patchy Mix. Who do you see coming out of that and becoming the champion that you're going to be striving to challenging down the line?
Look, in a very selfish way, my debut was against Danny Sabatello. You know, obviously we were meant to fight Mateus Matos for, I think it was about 15, 16 weeks, and then the week before it changed to Sabatello. So I felt like as if that fight didn't really go my way. I didn't feel like I performed very well. I thought Danny Sabatello did perform very well in that fight. In a very selfish way, I wouldn't mind seeing Danny Sabatello win the thing, and then maybe in the meantime, in the background, I can get a few wins, get into that slot where I'm able to fight him again, and we'll go from there. So I think he's pulled out a couple of good performances so far. You know, I really do. Beating the likes of Leandro Higo was a big win for him, and obviously to get into the tournament where he fought Jordan Lugo was a big win as well. So he's got momentum. And he's doing really well. But obviously he's got to come across Stots now, and Stots is a monster himself, you know, and I think that total right now, them 4 fighters, it's going to be really interesting. I think Patchy Mix is a very tough fight for anybody. I think his grappling will be a massive factor in that Magomedov fight. I could potentially see maybe, you know, a Sabatello Mix, or maybe even a Mix and Stots, you know. But there's some real juicy fights coming up here, and I'm glad that I get to sit there and watch these fights take place and see the whole bantamweight picture unfolding and seeing what I've got planned next for all of this, you know. So yeah, I'm interested in seeing who's going to win it. You know, if you told me, look, you got money on it, who do you think will win? Honestly, I don't have a clue who's going to win that tournament, but that just adds to the excitement overall.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's an exciting tournament. I'm glad Bellator chose the bantamweights for this Grand Prix. And looking on here, like, I know it gets tough right now when you're in training camp, you're dialed into your fights, but I like to ask all the fighters this, like, when it's your downtime and fighting's in the background, what's another hobby or another sport you follow regularly that you enjoy?
So my hobbies, believe it or not, is I love collecting fashion, so little bits of fashion. In particular, like we spoke about earlier, Italian fashion. I'm quite big into certain brands, and you know, in my spare time when I got some spare pocket money, some spare change there, I'll buy a nice little jacket or so on, or a pair of Adidas trainers. But as for other sports, football is a big one for me, or you guys call it soccer, you know. But back here in the UK, you know, I follow a team called Swansea City, which is obviously my hometown. And I go and watch them as much as I can. Obviously, this camp is, when you can't, football culture here in the UK is slightly different from what it is in the US, you know. And with the guys that I go away with, all the Swansea football guys that I travel home and away with, they understand the sacrifice that I need to put in to get to where I need to go, and they're not too hard on me when I don't turn up to many games. But we've got a game this Saturday, which I'm attending, and also a really big game. I think it's like 2 weeks after the fight, so I'll be attending that as well. And hopefully I can have a few ciders for that one. But I'm interested and looking forward to having a little drink at one of the games soon.
That's great. Big footy fan here too, so it's great to hear a fellow footy fan. Before we wrap up here, how can we follow you on social media?
Yeah, I've got like 2 pages on Instagram. One's more of like a photography page where, like, you know, there's guys in control of the Brett Johns. I think it's at B Johns MMA, which that's mostly to do with fight content, with any sort of sponsorship inquiries. And then you have my own page, which is Brett Johns MMA. That's where I act like a clown and put whatever I want on. Mostly photos of my new dog, but yeah, like I said, it's the 2 pages there. Twitter's at 36 Johns. They're the sort of 2 that I like to go off, and yeah, pop us a follow, guys.
Appreciate you sharing your time and coming on here to talk about your upcoming fight, and I wish you all the best.
Yeah, grazie, Giancarlo.